place like home the holiday. 'Cause no matter how far away you roam.
Ho, ho, ho! Ho, ho, ho! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful December the 22nd, 2020. Round of the Deportes. Bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, we had a beautiful winter's day down here in the south, nice and sunny as everything is moving along with Americans getting more and more vaccinated for COVID-19. Once again, I want to extend a thank you and a welcome to the frontline healthcare workers for all of what you do and being first in line to getting that COVID-19 vaccination and also helping out the rest of America.
They do a fabulous job. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C. You know, it's almost Christmas, but I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. Big C, they really do a great job helping veterans and their loved ones. Why should everybody care, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I know that the Senate is on the verge of passing a COVID-19 relief bill, but they're not doing anything to help veterans who are struggling out there, Charlton. They never address the issue of our veterans, and we're losing some 2 dozen a day to suicide in this country. An horrific disease that no one seems to want to pay attention to or recognize in this country. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, but we need more than that from America, just us giving out that number.
Yeah.
You know, as we look at Donald Trump, who has given up on his presidency and governing the United States and is only out there self-serving, he never addresses any of the issues that concern the veterans of this great nation who have done so much to keep us in the position that we are in the world.
Yeah.
So as people think about the holiday season, think about that we're losing over 2 dozen veterans a day to suicide, a horrific number. So as everyone wants to celebrate, think about those who allowed us the opportunity to celebrate, and think about how you can help save their lives also.
Very well said, Big C. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can hopefully get our veterans some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country, put in people back to work just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. Sports teams are doing it too when they're not on pause. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com, and you can see opportunities in real estate. Also, I want to say a very happy thank you to Comcast Spotlight presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said, let there be light. Play Big C Sports Podcast. All you got to do is say the words, and all of our apps will pop up, and so many applications. And I really do appreciate the way things are grown with Big C Sports. Man, Big C, this is a different kind of Christmas. I see so many people that are still trying to shop and find different gifts, and most people don't remember what they got last year. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is the season of giving, and I mean, it's in one of those particular activation systems, Charlton, that people always go out and hustle and try to find that last-minute gift. You know that Christmas is coming for 364 days out of the year,
yeah.
But you wait until 363 of them have gone by.
Yeah, they wait till they all go by. It's all fair in love and war. It's great to give from the heart, and maybe, just maybe, somebody will remember what they got last year's all fair in love and war. I do want to say, last night, I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were handing out Christmas presents a little bit too soon, and I know they have a receiver by the name of Juju Smith-Schuster that used to ride a bicycle even after he got drafted into the NFL. Well, he needs to start riding that bicycle, but don't ride it on somebody's lawn, Big C. Why does he keep standing on someone's emblem, and they've lost the last 3 games of him standing on somebody's emblem, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he's going out there dancing on the Cincinnati Bengals emblem, and everybody in the NFL knows this is one of the most heated rivalries in the NFL. A lot of physicality is always laid out when these two teams get together. But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that has lost 3 in a row, and you think about 4 weeks ago, everyone was talking about them potentially going undefeated.
Yeah.
But, there's problems with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, especially Ben Roethlisberger, who cannot throw the ball down the field over 20 yards. He has a problem with his elbow that was surgically repaired last year. You think about their first 10 games of the season, Charlton, when they were averaging 128 yards a game rushing. That's down to 51 yards a game in their last 4 games, which does not force that defense to respect the run. And you got to have a defense who's going to respect the run when you're playing them. Otherwise, they'll play back on those receivers and not allow you to get the ball to them.
Yeah.
They've been beat up defensively when you think about the Steelers. They've lost 2 of their top outside linebackers. They lost Bush, they lost Dupree. They've lost a couple other players also, Charlton. So this is not the team that we saw in the first half of the season. This is a team that's limping towards the finish line. And their season doesn't get any easier, Charlton, when you think about their next 2 games, which potentially could knock them out of first place in their division. They have the Indianapolis coach next week, followed by the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, they do. But I do want to ask you, I know we were talking about, we talk about so many things over the years, but I remember there was a time when the 49ers went down to Texas and they played the Dallas Cowboys, and Terrell Owens went and stood on the Cowboy star, and it started a fight before the game. I think the 49ers ended up losing that game anyway. And I know some people say, well, if you need something to get you motivated, then you're not really focused on the game. But do you think Tomlin would say to him, look, we lost 3 games in a row. Instead of standing on somebody's logo on the middle of the field, how about show some respect, because you represent the whole team, not just your foot, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I don't even know if Juju Smith-Schuster would have heard what Mike Tomlin said after he got knocked out in the game. They targeted him after he wanted to showboat and go out there and dance on the logo.
Yeah.
And I think after he got knocked out, somebody was saying, Juju, can you dance now?
Yeah, can you dance now? Like the rope-a-dope and Ali back in the day. You think about in the game's first 30 minutes, the Bengals defense shut out the Steelers offense. And they also forced 3 turnovers. And the Bengals offense got 17 points out of that. And you just brought up something that I've seen also. And I think I even saw it in the game where they beat the Tennessee Titans down in Tennessee. You mentioned about Big Ben's shoulder surgery, I guess elbow surgery. Also, Cam Newton had a similar surgery on his arm. And both of these quarterbacks have a hard time throwing the ball downfield, if that makes sense. Big C, your thoughts? Big C, I was trying to ask you the question about Big Ben Roethlisberger and also Cam Newton having a hard time throwing the ball over 20 yards downfield. And then Donald Trump, as he was pardoning 20 people, they pardoned our phone line. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think after this season, both of those quarterbacks, Charlton, will be looking for new homes or going into retirement.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I know Big Ben's gone on 17 years. And I know he wants to come back next year. I think they got like $40 million waiting for him. So, of course, he's going to want to come back and pick that $40 million. But when you see a team like the Steelers, they were so good in the first 11 games. But even those games came down to the wire. The game went down at Tennessee came down to the wire with their defense against Tennessee. where the Tennessee Titans missed a field goal. They had a couple of other games, one against the Baltimore Ravens that came down to the line also. But as you mentioned, there's so many injuries. But I also feel, and no one can complain, but the Steelers, I think they played 3 games in 12 days, and that's not healthy, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that really doesn't make a difference in the NFL. I mean, they were good their first 7 games. You know, when you look at where they've been their last 7 games, it's been a struggle all the way through. They could have easily lost all 7 of those. They won with smoke and mirrors. I mean, you go out and you play the schedule that's put in front of you. You play the team that's put in front of you. You got to realize every team in the NFL this year has been under the same modus operandi as everyone else.
Yeah. So give me your thoughts on Coach Tomlin, because I had Tomlin aimed at Coach of the Year when they were 11-0, and of course they may still right things in the last 2 weeks against the Browns and also the Indianapolis Colts, but it's not likely unless something changes on offense. Their players just do not want to catch the football for whatever reason it is. I have no idea. They had no problem catching footballs in the first 11 games. Now it seems like nobody wants to hold on to the football, and I know Coach Tomlin, he's a straight shooter. It may have publicly challenged the Pittsburgh Steelers to toughen up ahead of their Week 15 showdown with the AFC North rivals on last night, Big C. But there's only so much a coach can do when you have an injured quarterback. They're not going to say that, but you know they got to start looking for somebody to back them up, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, in this scenario, Charlton, you just have a team that's not playing well.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are no better than any other team in the NFL that's playing bad. I mean, don't get fooled because they had an 11-0 start. Like you said, a lot of that was smoke and mirrors. They could have lost after their 7th game of the season. If you look at those games, they struggled. The defense had some outstanding performance. Their offense has been lackluster. When you go from 128 yards a game rushing down to 51, then there's a big problem with your offensive line.
Yeah, and when you think about offense, the Bengals, they got up good on the Steelers. We used to call them the Pittsburgh Steelers Steel Curtain Part 2, and I apologize to Mean Joe Green because I was saying that, but I was saying it respectively while they were 11-0. But you had 152 yards rushing on 41 carries. Giovanni Bernard had 83 yards and 2 touchdowns, did most of that damage. But at the same time, Big C, I think this has happened to the New Orleans Saints at a time where they had played 3 games in 12 days and they lost 3 in a row. I think the Steelers have to come back, but if they come back, their defense is not that bad. It's just they keep turning the ball over too much, and I really would find a way to say Big Ben, maybe they can rest Big Ben up for the next 2 games because getting him more banged up and he's not telling anybody, that's not going to help him, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, they don't have anybody on the bench as a backup quarterback to play. You saw what happened last season, Charlton, when Ben missed majority of the season. What they had at the quarterback position just could not get the job done.
Yeah.
So the guys that are backing him up, Rudolph and whoever else they may have, are just not adequate backup NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, Big Ben threw a pick 6 in Buffalo, and he felt this a Christmas season. He also threw a pick 6 against Cincinnati last night. Both of them on the road, maybe back home. They'll get some home cooking, but they do host a 10-4 Colts, as you mentioned, which could possibly be a playoff preview. And then the Bengals travel to Houston, who also fell to 4-10. I know we're going to get in the Big C's preview, but it's going to be Christmas. But we'll do our show probably the day before Christmas. But your thoughts right now, based on what we saw last night, coming off of Monday, and then having to play the Indianapolis Colts that are 10-4, that are really fighting hard for the AFC North. If they were playing that game today, and the NFL might say okay because they make them play every other day anyway, what do you feel the Steelers would fare? How would they fare against Indianapolis right now, Big C? Your thoughts?
I don't see the Steelers winning a game the rest of the year. And
really?
If they make the playoffs, I see them going out the first round.
Really? Well, I hope they get things turned around. I do like the black and yellow, if that makes sense to you. It's all fair and love and war. I want to get some thoughts also on what's going on in Big C's NFL power rankings. I know so many things can change because no one in the NFL universe thought the Steelers would lose that game last night, except for maybe Big Ben, because he cannot get any spin on that ball, Big C. NFL power rankings coming up on Week 16. Big C's thoughts. Everybody has their own opinion. And speaking of the Steelers and Mean Joe Green, when you have the coconut smile, have it with the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, and it goes great with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, and it goes great with the Big C burger. They were also giving out the Big C burger. They didn't call it the Big C burger. They called it the Big Cheeseburger on the NFL preview. It was Strahan, Howie Long, Terry Bradshaw, and some good old boys. Big C, your thoughts? Did they steal our burger? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, everybody's doing a promotion of some type, and as the winter month comes along, gets a little colder, everybody's looking for a great deal to eat.
Yeah, but they call it the Big Cheeseburger as opposed to the Big C Burgers off Fair 11 War. Big C's NFL top teams, the top 10 coming up this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they are 11-3, and they look nothing like the 11-3 that they started out being 11-0. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, 4 weeks ago, Charlton, they were rated the number 1 team in the NFL. How quick you fall down to number 10. But right now, like I said, I don't think that they'll win another game the rest of the year.
Even with that said, if you're talking to Coach Mike Tomlin, there has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. They don't have Franco Harris, even though he's been seen out doing more push-ups. Terry Braswell's running around trying to give away $1 million on TV, Big C. What advice would you give Coach Tomlin if they're going to get the ship right at Big C? Your thoughts?
I mean, it's not up to the coach. Coaches, can only talk to players. I mean, every team with a losing record has a coach also. And he's out there talking to his players. I mean, maybe you might want to call Adam Gates and say, hey, can you come talk to my players?
Yeah, give me some defensive help. If the Jets can win a game, anybody has hope. It's all Fair 11 War. It's amazing. The Jets are actually looking better than the Steelers the last couple of games. Number 9 in Big C's NFL power rankings, none other than the Baltimore Ravens, which are hoping that the Steelers don't get their act together. The Ravens are looking pretty decent with a beat down over Jacksonville, but everybody beats Jacksonville. But they are 9-5 on the season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Ravens have an easy path to the playoffs. Just keep winning, and you could potentially get in. I mean, if they don't, they could end up being an 11-5 team that did not make the playoffs. But right now, even though they're ranked number 9, I still think they're one of the top 5 teams in the league right now, the way they're playing.
Give me your feeling on Lamar Jackson, because I know Lamar Jackson was under a lot of criticism, not being able to throw downfield. People kept saying if they fall behind, they have a hard time coming back, and that may be true. But Superman Jackson, he's the guy that takes the glory when they win, and he takes the blame when they lose. What are your feelings based on now being 9-5? How are they looking going into the playoffs, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's not all on Lamar Jackson offensively. It's the running game. Right now, they're the top running game in the NFL, and that's what has them winning. Their defense has to get healthy, and they've improved the past couple of games as you see what they've done to their opponents.
Yeah.
But it's not all about Lamar Jackson with this team. This running game is solid. I mean, he still struggles in the passing game. The inconsistency that he has on that side of the ball, I mean, if you look at him, he's only ranked like the 20th quarterback in the NFL amongst starters, but that defense is what's going to have to carry multiple.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing. I want to take you back to something, because in the Pittsburgh game, and also when you look at Baltimore Ravens, I look at Big Ben and Lamar Jackson. Both of them have been MVPs at one time or another. Lamar Jackson was last year Superman Jackson, and then Big Ben, of course, has 2 Lombardi trophies. But when you think about something, because we may be seeing, I mean, it's easy to say this, but when you look at how they're going to owe him $40 million, and he's not accurate throwing the ball downfield, he threw over the target last night on the 4th down. They had 4 incompletions in a row when they needed it most with about 2 minutes to play. So the Steelers lost their 3rd straight game, Monday Night Football, previously a league best undefeated 11-0. The Steelers have lost their last 3 games, including on Monday, including 27-17 to the Bengals. And his 3rd string quarterback, Ryan Finley, Big C, despite the Steelers quarterback, Big Ben Roethlisberger, he did hit a milestone. He reached 60,000 career passing yards, and this team never led in the game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, yards are misleading many a times when you look around and you see quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford and the number of yards that he has passed for, and really he's only had 1 winning season as a starting quarterback. But Ben has no velocity on the football any longer. And I know that the Steelers owe him money next year, but, the way things are set right now, they're going to have to negotiate some type of deal where he retires admirably and just walks away from the organization, because he cannot compete right now as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
$40 million is a lot to give someone to just walk away, and no one's going to eat that cap, especially if they give him an arm test, because it's just not the same. Do you think, as far as saying maybe give him a chance to walk away, the same thing going on in that same state, Pennsylvania, with Carson Wentz, they owe him a lot of money also, and they're saying, well, we don't want to hurt his feelings, we don't want him to walk away, but they got to figure out something. Do you really think the Steelers would allow Ben to walk away, or would they try to get even more out of him? Your thoughts?
Well, no, I honestly do. You know, you got to understand, every NFL team has this thing called a physical.
Yeah.
And if you cannot pass physical, then they don't owe you money.
Yeah.
So it's not a cap hit.
Oh,
and
really?
I think the way that Ben is playing right now, and if he comes back in next year and they try to get him to pass the physical, the Steelers are not going to pass him on a physical.
Yeah, that's interesting. And when you think about it, in their previous 2 defeats, it was more of the same in the first half for Pittsburgh as they turned the ball over 3 times to allow the previously 2-win Bengals to race to a 17-0 lead. If you recall, against Jacksonville, that everybody beats now, before Big Ben went out of the season last year, because he had the injury to his elbow, I think he had thrown 8 interceptions in 2 playoff games. And isn't it ironic? Now when he's throwing an interception, it's a pick 6. So not only is he not accurate, the defenses have a read on him. They know what we're talking about, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, he has no velocity on the ball, and that allows the defensive backs to get a jump on the ball and easily take it back the other way.
Yeah, maybe Juju Smith-Schuster can jump up and down on his arm to get it warmed up. If that makes sense to you, it's all fair and level war. Back to Big C's NFL power rankings coming up on Week 16. You know, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, they knocking the doors on each other. One of them's not going to make the playoffs, perhaps, and that would be just incredible because, you know, Cleveland's most likely going to get in. Number 8, Big C's NFL power rankings, the 10-4 Indianapolis Colts, and this is a team that's going into Pittsburgh, and they have a quarterback who got chased out of Los Angeles, but now he's throwing touchdown passes in Indianapolis. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Indianapolis Colts are hot right now. Phillip Rivers is playing some of the best football he's played in the past 3 years in the NFL. He has a very good complementary cast on offense. He has a solid running game as well as a host of outstanding receivers. And when you think about that Colts defense, it's outstanding. I mean, they have a tremendous defensive front. Those linebackers led by Darius Leonard can really get after you.
Yep.
And that young secondary has matured.
Yeah, they really have. I remember when the season began, everyone talked about Tennessee, and I still think that Tennessee will, even if they don't win that division, to me they look like the best team playoff-wise, because you have Derek Freight Train Henry, it's hard to bring him down, especially as it gets colder. Indianapolis, they play in a dome, but when they got to get outside, it may just be a field goal difference in my opinion. Coming up to a team that they finally figured out what you had talked about in the preseason. They have one of the best running backs in the NFL, maybe 2. And when you think about what they have in the backfield now, Big C, Chubb and Hunt, Big C. And the Cleveland Browns are 10-4. They had a nice solid win over the New York Giants just a couple of days ago. They're 10-4. They are looking at that calendar where they play the Pittsburgh Steelers at the end of the season, and it would be so crazy that they did not need Jim Brown to come back and win the division. Big C, your thoughts?
I mean, when you look at Cleveland and how they're playing right now, you got to be led by their defense. Their defense has been outstanding all year long. You see how they put the pressure on the Giants and shut them down in that game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And when you look at their offense, it's all led by their running game. I think this team has gotten better without Odell Beckham because you don't have that alpha wide receiver that you're trying to satisfy. And you're going to allow your running game to be dominant, and you have a host of wide receivers and tight ends that you can get the ball to in a timely fashion. Yeah.
Now, you know, sometimes people go back to their habits. That's why they say work out all the time. When you stop working out, it's hard to get back into it, Big C. But if you don't stop working out, then your habits tend to have a hard time. The bad habits have a hard time coming back. If we're going into the playoffs, you know, the best players on that team are the 2 running backs. But the most marketable player on their team is their quarterback, Baker Mayfield. When you get into playoffs, Big C, is there any chance that he becomes like Matt Ryan and forgets that he has the best backfield, at least in the AFC? Big C, your thoughts?
But the most dominant person on that team is Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, the play caller, who is dictating what the offense is going to do. He's not going to stray away from Stefanski because he can always bring in Case Keenum to hand off the football. Yeah, that's very well said. I mean, they figured out what you had talked about earlier in the year when they had that 2-headed monster in the backfield. They're very tough to stop because it makes you respect the run, and that opens up the pass, and he's better when he's running outside of the pocket. Also, Big C's NFL top 10 teams, and this is the team that many people picked to go to the Super Bowl.
The New Orleans Saints, they come in at number 6. They're 10-4 on the season. And Drew Brees is banged up. I don't know if they put him back in the game too early with 11 cracked ribs. It's not going to be any easier because those ribs are going to get shifted around again. But they did lose by 3 to the best team in the NFL. Give me your feeling on the New Orleans Saints. They have to be a little bit disappointed at 10-4. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if they're disappointed because they've had a host of injuries. You got to look at this defense in New Orleans and how outstanding that they are. Nobody has beaten the Kansas City Chiefs except for the Raiders lucking up earlier in the season, and everybody thought that the Chiefs were on a downward flight at that time. But they've won 9 consecutive games since that point. So, I mean, you're playing the best team in the league when you play the Kansas City Chiefs. And by staying close, it lets you know that you have the potential to play with anybody offensively. Yes, Drew Brees came back. He was 0 for 7 when the game started, but he eventually found his groove and hit his open receivers and threw a couple of touchdown passes in this game.
Yeah.
They have to have a solid running game in New Orleans offensively for them to be effective going down the road.
Yeah, they really do. Give me your feeling on 2 things, because there is a thought, just like with Big Ben. I mean, the Steelers, they'll probably get into the playoffs. I don't see them losing to Indianapolis and also Cleveland.
Well, the Steelers have already qualified for the playoffs. They just have not won the division.
Yeah, winning their division. So if you look at the same thing going on in New Orleans, they've won their division. They're not going to get caught by Tampa. And Atlanta's out, and so is Carolina. Why not just sit Breeze down? And they're not going to get the home field advantage, and that's going to go to Green Bay. Why not sit him out for another 2 weeks and let him heal even more? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, there's not a guarantee that it's going to go to Green Bay. Green Bay has a couple of tough games coming up. You got to realize Green Bay has the Titans this week.
Yeah.
The Titans are the highest scoring team in the NFL going against Green Bay. So don't think that, Aaron Rodgers is playing much better than Ryan Tannehill when it comes to that situation. That's what Sean Payton is looking at.
Would you even consider, though, with his ribs being banged up, and you need him to get through 2 playoff games in the Super Bowl, as opposed to getting knocked around in 2 more games, they're going to get in the playoffs anyway. Why not bring in Hill and even Jameis Winston, even though people don't like him because he threw for 5,000 yards last year? Why not pace him and leave him for those playoff games as opposed to taking a risk? You're going to get in the playoffs anyway, Big C. Your thoughts?
That old analogy of sitting somebody down and bringing them back. How sharp did Drew Brees look coming back into this game? Did he look like he was at the peak of his career, or did he look like a rusty quarterback coming off the bench? So you have to let this guy find his way and let him play as long as he can, because most likely this is his last hurrah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they're doing. I'd rather have them in the playoff games as opposed to 2 regular season games that don't really mean anything other than taking a chance to get hit another 60 times in each game, because they run about 60 offensive plays in their 2 games. We're going to take what's called a Big C pause, and when we come back, I want to stay on the Big C's NFL power rankings. There's a lot of good football going on. I just hope that everybody's healthy enough to see it. We'll take what's called the Big C pause. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcast. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. I also want to say thank you to Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said, let there be light. Just say play Big C Sports Podcast. You can see all of our apps pop up, and you can listen to Big C Starts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I really appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Coming up on Big C's NFL Power Rankings, the number 5 team, and they have the chance to be so much better than that, Big C. When you look at the Seattle Seahawks, them good old boys, they are something special. Hold on. That's the Seattle Seahawks. They're coming in with Putin still trying to tap our phone lines, but it's all fair in Leavenworth. Big C's NFL Power Rankings. The Seattle Seahawks maybe thought they would have a better season, but they're still 10-4. And when Russell Wilson doesn't turn the ball over, they tend to win, even though he had a turnover in Washington. But they cracked Big C number 5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's been a problem with Seattle the past several games, is they've been turnover prone offensively. And that's something that they're going to have to straighten out as they expect to move far into the playoffs. You think about how well they played defensively in the past couple of games, and that's been the difference in them winning. But they have to keep that up. Chris Carson's running the ball strong, as well as Carlos Hyde.
Yep.
So they're getting their running backs back and healthy, and that's where they have to be if they expand on moving up in the playoffs.
Give me your thoughts on, they have a great passing game, but you can only get so much out of Russell Houdini Wilson. We've seen that the last couple of years. Well, they'll win a game, especially away from Seattle for some reason. I don't know why, but they need to find a way to make DK Metcalf more involved in the game. I don't think he had the best game that he could have had last week against the Washington football team, but they got to keep him involved in the game. And if they don't get a run game, it's going to be difficult. But their defense, their defense is going to give up points, but they did turn things around against Washington. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they did have a run game against Washington. If you realize Carlos Hyde had the 50-yard run for a touchdown, it's just a matter of consistency, and that's one of the things Russell Wilson has not displayed in the second half of games this year as he's normally had in his career. He has to have more second half consistency to push Seattle down the road.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure that out, especially when it comes to the playoffs. I used to think that one time that the Seahawks were going to win the NFC West, and then when the Rams came on strong, I said, well, it's probably not going to go to Seattle. But now the Rams are Jekyll and Hyde. They're in a great spot to win the NFC West. They just got to not slip up on the next couple of games, Big C. And then number 4 in Big C's NFL football power rankings, you have the Tennessee Titans. I thought it was illegal to allow freight trains on an NFL turf. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this team is actually led by Ryan Tannehill. I know they have an outstanding running back in Derrick Henry, and he's, punished a lot of defensive players this season. But Ryan Tannehill, when you look at the effectiveness that he's had, 31 touchdown passes on the season. I mean, he has his team leading the NFL in scoring. A lot of people would have thought it'd been Kansas City or Green Bay.
Yeah.
No, it's the Tennessee Titans leading the NFL in scoring. And that's something that blows people away. And that defense plays smash mouth football down there in Knoxville. So, I mean, as you look at the Tennessee Titans, as they're moving forward, yes, they have a solid running game, but they got a quarterback that should be in the MVP consideration as far as what Ryan Tannehill has done since taking over last year for Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, he's been doing a good job down there. Marcus Mariota's had a revitalization down in Las Vegas, but everybody gets revitalized when they go to Las Vegas. But that's Big C's number 4. I really like Derrick Freight Train Henry when he's running the ball for 140 yards a game. It's going to be tough for anyone to beat them good old boys. All right, we are back on the Big C Sports Show. There's a lot of good old boys in Russia. Donald Trump pardons 20 people, and now they're trying to steal the Big C phone line. Is all fair and love and war. I'm going to get into Big C's NFL power rankings coming up on the number 3 team. And this is the team that a lot of people thought maybe they're another year away from getting where they want to get. But I'm not so sure that this year is not the year for them. Maybe not in the AFC, but the Buffalo Bills, they come in at number 3 in Big C's NFL power rankings. They're 11-3 on the season and really could be 12-2 outside of the miracle down in Arizona. Give me your feeling on the Buffalo Bills. Are they really ready, Big C? Your thoughts?
I mean, what team has played better than Buffalo in the last 8 games of this year, Charlton? I mean, Buffalo has just been a dominant football team offensively and defensively. Josh Allen has really risen up. Last game, over 400 yards passing. He has a wealth of receivers out there that can catch the ball. You got Beasley, Diggs, and Brown. You got an excellent tight end, Singletary in the backfield. This offensive line is very dominant and physical up front.
Yeah.
The defense is getting better and better as the weeks go by in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC East. They're going to win that division hands down. And then they're not going to be someone that you want to face in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're used to the cold, so they're built to go into Kansas City. I don't think they can beat Kansas City, but I do know that they can score points. And on defense, they can also turn the ball over, get the ball out of the offensive's hands. So that gives them, they might be the second best team in all of football, but I just don't think they're going to have a chance to go in to Kansas City and win. And I also think that Tennessee would give them some problems. That's just my opinion. But they are looking very good. The Buffalo Bills back in the days of Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith and them good old boys, Darryl Talley, if they had so many opportunities to go to the Super Bowl and win it. They went to 4. Thurman Thomas in the backfield couldn't get them over the hump. Those teams under Kelly seem so much more powerful than the team they have right now. But which one, I mean, obviously we know the answer to one question. But is this team really ready to make a run at the AFC Championship? Big C, your thoughts?
You know, Charleston, I think this team is much better than those 4 teams that went to the Super Bowl. I mean, what they did, they made history when they went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls. But physically, the way this team is put together right now, I think that they could go out and handle themselves against that former Buffalo Bills team.
That would be amazing. Maybe they can have a pickup game in Buffalo for charity. Could you imagine those good old boys playing the Nouveau Riche Buffalo Bills? It's all fair in Levin War. I want to take you into another thought about what many people feel is the best team in the NFC. And as you said earlier, they have a tough game coming up with Tennessee. But I think the Green Bay Packers at Big C's NFL Power Rankings, the good old boys are coming in at 11-3. If they just win out, they know that whoever comes in to play them in Green Bay, they're going to play on it's going to be around 30 degrees or lower based on what the climate is up in Green Bay, Big C. Touchdown Aaron Rodgers, touchdown Devontae Adams. They may just have the best passing game in the NFC in respect to the good old boys down in New Orleans. Give me your feeling on Green Bay and how confident you are in seeing them host Lombardi's Trophy, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, I saw something in Green Bay the other night that I didn't really like. Is that they lost their momentum in the second half of the game, and they just coasted. You're not going to be able to do that in the playoffs. We know how outstanding they are offensively with Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, and that wealthy receiving core that they have. Their offensive line has been outstanding. And when you look at Aaron Jones, when he's running the ball, I think that's when Green Bay is at their best. We know that Aaron Rodgers has his 40 touchdown passes and only 2 interceptions on the season. But when Aaron Jones is chugging, that offense is at its best. The defense had a pass rush the other night, and they have to pick up more on that pass rush, you know, once we get to the playoffs, because everybody can throw the football. Yeah, everybody can throw the ball. And I mean, I know we talk about don't let your foot off the gas. I know the Dallas Cowboys did that a couple of years ago when they were rolling, winning to Philadelphia, and Jerry Jones wanted to see Tony Romo get a start as opposed to see the Cowboys get to the Super Bowl. And they lost that game, and then they ended up getting off to a slow start and lost at home to Green Bay. And I think maybe the Green Bay Packers, if anybody, remember that. So I doubt if they take their foot off the gas. But that's Green Bay Packers, Big C's number 2 NFL Power Rankings. And then everybody's number 1 football team in the universe, the defending NFL Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. They are 13-1 on the season. They have touchdown Patrick Mahomes. They have a great run game. Their defense is legit. I saw a pass play that really convinced me that this kid, touchdown Patrick Mahomes, might be the best quarterback ever to play in the NFL. He was rolling to his left. He was backpedaling, and he went near the sideline, threw the ball to the very far corner of the end zone where only his receiver could get it, dragging his feet going out of bounds. And it's as if that's the way they planned it, Big C. Your thoughts? I mean, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs offense, it's like playground football, is that they're drawing up plays on the AstroTurf.
Yeah.
Because every week there's something new that we see as fans that we haven't seen before, nor has NFL defense has seen before. So it's not like you can go out and draw up a defense against this team.
No.
I think at times they get bored with what they're doing because they let teams stay into the game. Unfortunately, they lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that last game against New Orleans. So he's going to miss the rest of the regular season, and we'll see how he looks once the playoffs comes around. So it's starting to look like that Le'Veon Bell signing was a great move by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Their defense is making enough big plays in timely situations to fold off opponents, but that's one of the things they have to do. They got to pick up some more off the defensive secondary. Is giving up too many big plays. Seems like they have some confusion on the back end because they feel that they can always rely on their offense to bail them out.
Yeah. Now, Big C, the problem with the crowning a team, like Dennis Green said, you want to crown them, crown them. Nobody's crowning the Kansas City Chiefs right now. They've only lost 1 football game in the last calendar year, and that was to the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Not the Oakland Raiders, but the Las Vegas Raiders. And in that game, it looks like what you said, it may be true. But it's also going to nip him in the butt, Big C, because Usain Bolt may be the fastest guy in the world, but there are times when he would start off slow and finish strong. And if Kansas City is doing what you're suggesting, that they're bored or that they're lackadaisical or they don't have that desire, that passion to try to blow people out, that they're just trying to cover the point spread, you get a couple of turnovers and your season can be over in a hurry, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that the point spread has anything to do with with their thought process. I just think that this is a team that feels that they're just that much better than everybody else, and that they can turn it on at any time. Sometimes they can nip you in the bud if you get somebody that's having a good day. But the Kansas City Chiefs are as good as advertising. Until you beat them, and the Raiders lucked up and beat them with some big plays.
Yeah.
By a Carr being able to throw the ball. He had 3 completions over 50 yards in that game. And they only beat them by 1 touchdown, realistically, when you look at that.
Yeah.
And Mahomes had his second worst day of the season.
Yeah, I remember that. They also were a field goal missed by the Los Angeles Chargers from losing that game down at SoFi Stadium. But it's not how close you win. It's not how big you win. It's that you win, and they are winning the games. Big C's NFL Power Rankings, and coming down from number 10 to 1, Pittsburgh Steelers at number 10. Number 9, Baltimore Ravens. Number 8, Indianapolis Colts. Number 7, Cleveland Browns. Number 6, New Orleans Saints. Number 5, Seattle Seahawks. Number 4, Tennessee Titans. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs, defending NFL Super Bowl champions. It's all fair and love and more. Big C, I want to bring you to something that I think there's 2 things about the thing that came out of Washington, D.C. with Hoskins. He's a young man, and I know people are all over him. I've heard people say fire him, cut him from the team, because he was seen doing what about 90% of the men do. He was at a strip club, and I guess he was partying with some women, trying to help out the economy since Congress wouldn't do anything about it. He decided to give some people some money, Big C, but he was doing it without a mask. And as people say, fire him, kick him off the team, he doesn't have the discipline. The Trump administration did the same thing at the White House. Many rallies, and some of these same NFL owners and fans that love NFL football, they're saying get rid of Hoskins, but these NFL owners give money to Trump. So, to me, yeah, he did his stupid thing, but it's no more dumb than the commander-in-chief. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the NFL has put in a protocol. I mean, and that's what you have to be aware of. Not worrying about what's going on at the White House. You have to follow NFL protocol. And if you lose a game and you feel that you want to go celebrate by going out breaking NFL protocol, then you have to deal with the punishment that comes along with that.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that it's any worse than what the owner, Daniel Snyder, has done. I mean, today he settled a sexual harassment lawsuit that occurred on his private plane.
Really?
He paid out $1.6 million in a non-disclosure agreement. So, I mean, this is the reason why the team is going to handle it internally.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I did not know about that. I wasn't even aware of it. I mean, sometimes there's a reason you have your own private planes, but no one should ever have to deal with any type of harassment. But when you're a billionaire owner, oftentimes they get away with stuff like that. Isn't it amazing? As people want to get rid of Hoskins because he did something dumb, Bob Kraft got off by paying money for what he was doing down in Florida. And it just so happens he's not even sad that New England's out of the playoffs this year. Maybe that's punishment too. And then you have Snyder. At the same time, the players get a lot of scrutiny for it, but the owners, they just pat them on the back and say, hey, we'll just settle out of court. Big C, your thoughts?
Money can't buy you love, but it can get you out of problems.
It can buy you love, Big C. You think some of those old, wrinkled-up white dudes have models on their arm because of love? No, it's because of money. I've heard that from some good old girls from back in the day. It's all fair, love, and war. But I wish everybody nothing but the best, and I hope that people can stay out of trouble, especially when it comes to harassment. There's never any room for that type of garbage. I do want to touch on your thoughts on the NFL rushing leaders, because there's not that many guys that have the chance to go over 2,000 yards. I think there's been 6 or 7 guys in the history of the game. But Derrick Henry, he has 1,679 yards. And they're not going to let him off the hook. They're going to keep running him, Big C. He's going to easily get to 2,000 yards. This good boy got 195 yards last week. And then this week, I think he got 170, I believe, somewhere in there. But if you think about it, that's not counting runs that are called back. 1,679 yards. Silly question. Would you rather see him put him on the shelf and save those legs for the playoffs, or is trying to chase down the record more important? Big C, your thoughts?
You know, he's not going to take down the record. He might get to 2,000 yards if he's fortunate and can stay healthy. But players don't want to sit down. I mean, that adage is, sit down. Players talk about saving them for the playoffs. You can be one and done in the playoffs. You need to keep your momentum. When you have an opportunity to stay hot, you stay hot.
Yeah.
It's just like taking a baseball pitcher out of a baseball game and bringing in a relief pitcher, hoping that relief pitcher can keep up with what the starter has done.
Yeah, well, the Tampa Bay Rays, they did that. So we all understand how that all goes. Dalvin Cook, that good boy up at Minnesota, and I feel bad for Dalvin Cook. Not that he had a bad knee and they reconstructed his knee. I mean, thank goodness for science and doctors. But he has 1,484 yards, and he has a quarterback that doesn't know how good he is. He has a second leading rusher in the league, and you would think they would be in the same spot that the Tennessee Titans are in, or that the Cleveland Browns are in. When you have a strong running game, you tend to win a lot of games, you would think, but Dalvin Cook doesn't have the chance to get to 2,000 yards because they have a quarterback that's paid for passing the ball. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it comes down to the quarterback. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is a much better quarterback. When you look at the success that the Tennessee Titans have had since Ryan Tannehill has become the starting quarterback. Derrick Henry was already there as a running back, and they weren't having that success. The success of the Tennessee Titans is led by Ryan Tannehill and what he has done. This quarterback has thrown for 31 touchdowns. He has 9 interceptions on the season. But look at his record as a starter since he's been in Tennessee and how successful. They went to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
They were led by Ryan Tannehill. You know, when you look at Derrick Henry, the Kansas City Chiefs shut him down.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill kept them in that game. And he has them with the highest scoring offense in the NFL. That's not just because you're running game. That's because of your quarterback.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. James Robinson, 1,070 yards. Not going to do much for him. He's just running his way to stay in shape down there in Jacksonville. But Aaron Jones is going to crack the 1,000-yard barrier this week, and they really need him for the Green Bay Packers. I know touchdown Aaron Rodgers is everybody's darling for one of the top players in the league when it comes to MVP consideration. I still think it's going to go to Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. But that good old boy, Aaron Jones, he is a difference maker, and he makes it a lot easier for Aaron Rodgers because he's going to suck in those linebackers where they don't drop back in coverage. Big C, your thoughts?
I mean, he's an outstanding weapon in the Green Bay offense. If you look how successful Green Bay was last season, it was because of Aaron Jones running. When you look at those close games that they were playing in, Aaron Jones was the difference maker as well as this year. When that Green Bay offense has been in its most proficient, Aaron Jones has had outstanding games. He's an outstanding receiver as well as running back out of the backfield.
Yeah, and he's making a difference for the Green Bay Packers. Last running back I'm going to bring up is Nick Chubb, 931 yards. There's no Odell Beckham Jr. to complain at Baker Mayfield about not throwing him the ball enough. And some people say it makes a difference. I don't know if it does, but when you have Nick Chubb, 931 yards rushing, and there's a reason that the Cleveland Browns are most likely going to make the playoffs for the first time in many, many moons. They just got to make sure that they game plan for having the ball in his hands, and carrying the ball 25 times is not too much for a running back. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, you know, Nick Chubb could have easily won the rushing title in the NFL last year. You know, he got hurt, missed the game because of an injury, but he's an outstanding running back. He missed 4 games this year, and he's going to get 1,000 yards for his second consecutive year in the NFL. As he goes and Kareem Hunt, the Cleveland Browns offense goes, not as Baker Mayfield goes.
Yeah, he's doing his thing, Big C. I'm going to bring it to the NFL passing leaders, and everybody likes touchdown Patrick Mahomes. That good boy's put up 4,462 yards. He has 2 more games to go, so everybody knows he's going to crack the 5,000-yard mark. And I think what makes it even so more impressive is he does a lot of his passing going backwards. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is a guy that we've seen throw the ball from every position possible. He is something different when it comes to the NFL quarterback. And you know, he's the true leader of that Green Bay offense. He's the most exciting player in the league to watch. And when we talk about players' importance to a ball club, to the league, you know, Patrick Mahomes is that. He means it all to the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that good old boy is completing 67% of his passes, 36 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. You know, the sky is so bright for him. He deserves a Big C burger. Get rid of that steak, Patrick. Eat the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, and it goes great with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, and it goes great with the Big C burger. Another quarterback who deserves the Big C burger is touchdown Deshaun Watson. I feel bad they got rid of one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he went down to Arizona into the desert where a lot of people go to retire but not play more football games, Big C. 4,134 yards, but they're a bad team this year, and I feel bad for him, but he does have 27 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's having one of the best seasons of his career. He just happened to be playing on a bad team, and it just goes to prove that statistics are not everything.
Yeah, it's not everything. And speaking of that, just as you said on cue, Matt Ryan. Matt touchdown Ryan, maybe not, but 4,016 yards for the Atlanta Falcons. I thought the Falcons would have a much better year, maybe under Raheem Morris. They'll have a better year coming up. But Ryan has 22 touchdown passes. He has 11 interceptions, which is what Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson have combined, Big C. And when you think about it, he's a player that's making a lot of money, and everybody makes money. He completes 64% of his passes, but the Falcons are just not going to make the playoffs at all. And I don't know what's going to happen to that team next year. They have a lot of soul searching to do down there in what they call the Dirty Bird State. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if you call it soul searching in the NFL. It's called cap searching, from what I understand, Charlton. Because you got to be able to find money to bring in new players, and that's a problem that a lot of teams are going to be faced with. Matt Ryan's due $44 million next year of dead cap money to the Falcons.
Yeah, and I thought Arthur Blank is not losing sleep over giving somebody $40 million off fair and level war. You look at Josh Allen, the new rising star in the AFC East, Big C, 4,000 yards passing, that good boy out of Wyoming by the way of Kings River College and also Fireball High School. 30 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, he's one of the young budding stars of the NFL. If you look at him in that draft class that he came in, Charlton, with Mayfield, with Darnold, with Jackson, and with Rosen, I mean, he's the guy that's now risen to the top of the heap. We know that Jackson was the MVP last year, having lesser numbers than what Josh Allen had.
Yeah.
It just all depends on who's playing well and what season.
It all depends on who's playing well. Talk about playing well. Tom Brady, the Patriots will not make the playoffs for the first time in about 2,000 years, Big C. But the great Tom Brady's not playing there anymore. He has 3,886 yards, so he's doing his thing. He's 900 years old, Big C. This good boy has 32 touchdowns. He does have 11 interceptions, which is not the best. But 3,800 yards passing for a guy that can't throw the ball more than 20 yards downfield, I think he's doing a lot better than that now, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he only has a third of the interceptions that Jameis Winston threw last year. And that's the key point of the offense in Tampa.
Yeah.
They're going to make the playoffs. They have a third less interceptions throwing. The team is starting to round out with their receiving core right now. They're going to get better. And Tom Brady has been the difference in Tampa.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. Completes 65% of his passes. Touchdown, Aaron Rodgers, 3,828 yards. Doing his thing up in Green Bay. Completes 69.6% of his passes. So I'm going to say 70% the great touchdown, Aaron Rodgers. And when you think about it, he has 40 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, and there's some consideration for him for being the MVP of the league. He has the Packers with the second best team in the league. He's very proficient in throwing the ball. He's been taking care of it, not having the turnovers. And that's the key to any team success, not having turnovers from your quarterback.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers is one of those quarterbacks, just like Patrick Mahomes, that can throw the ball from any position, that a lot of people just don't realize how good Aaron has been over the years in doing that.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. Final one, Russell Houdini Wilson, 3,806 yards. It seems like it's something he does every year. Completes 70% of his passes, Big C. 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. So that's not usual for him. But when you have what he's done over the years up in Seattle, I think Pete Carroll has made the playoffs, I want to say 8 out of the last 9 years, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's done an outstanding job. He had a hot start to the season. Then he had that low in the middle of the season where he started throwing interceptions. And Seattle were taking losses. I mean, but their running games let them down in that situation. But Russell Wilson, has been a consistent quarterback ever since he's been in the NFL. He's not had a losing year in the 9 seasons that he's been an NFL starting quarterback, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Seattle is better for him.
Yeah, they're better for him. So that's Big C's thoughts on NFL running backs and quarterbacks coming up on this great Christmas holiday weekend. I wish them all nothing but the best. Tonight, the NBA gets started, Big C, and they have the first half of the 2020-21 season with a bang, Big C. We have the Golden State Warriors. They're playing the Brooklyn Nets. We have the LA Clippers, and they're playing the defending world champion Los Angeles Lakers. And wouldn't that be amazing if at least 2 of these teams are competing for the NBA championship at the end of the season, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the Golden State Warriors, there's really no chance of them competing, Charlton. This is a team that, has been bewildered with injuries. And, I mean, they have Steph Curry, but they don't have anything beyond that. The Brooklyn Nets will handle the Golden State Warriors tonight. Then you got the Battle of L.A. May come down to the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, may come down to the last 3 minutes of the game. And who knows what's going to happen in Los Angeles. Both teams are loaded, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers are loaded. Golden State's going to be a playoff team, but probably will not challenge for the top dog if it comes to the Western Conference. But it's all fair in love and war. There's still a lot of good teams. Luka Doncic, a lot of people feeling with the Dallas Mavericks that he will be up for Player of the Year consideration. NBA Most Valuable Player. Your thoughts, Big C?
I mean, it's a long season, Charlton. It's about staying healthy. I mean, every year there's somebody who rises up. We all know that LeBron James is the best player in the league. They just happen to give out the trophy periodically to somebody else.
Somebody else gets it every now and then. And LeBron's going to keep it. He's trying to chase down Michael Jordan on top of the mountain. It's all fair in love and war. I hope everybody has a great holiday season coming up. And I know it's important for people to stay safe and just do whatever you can. Wash your hands and social distance is all fair in love and war. I do want to touch a little bit on what's going on in the world of college football, because I know you and I have a bone to pick with each other all the time. I like red wine. You like that homemade shine that you guys make down in the barn, if that makes sense to you. But it sounds like somebody got taken out to the barn in the Potato Bowl up in Idaho, Big C. Potatoes are good for making some of your favorite libations, Big C, if that makes sense to you. University of Nevada, they told those Southern boys, go back to where you came from. Nevada jumped on Tulane 38-27, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, there's a few bowl games being played this year. I mean, they're being played at odd times in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. Nevada, jumped on Tulane. I mean, these are two teams from across the country from each other. And I think, Tulane felt a little bit ousted going up to Idaho today and playing in the cold.
It's too cold. Wait a minute. You said you Southerners don't like the cold, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we like the air conditioning. We like a 70-degree room.
Yeah. I was telling you yesterday that Chris Ault started the college football playoffs back in 1978, and it just so happened that the Gooder boys from Nevada, they jumped on Tulane, the Gooder boys from the South, Big C, and they said, go back to where you came from. You're not wanted out here. It's all fair in love and war. And then another West Coast team getting their groove on, the BYU Cougars. They go on to Florida in the Boca Raton Bowl, and I don't want to give up the score. I'll give up the score. Game's about over anyway. But they were jumping on University of Central Florida. At one point, it was 35-7 in the third. I won't talk about the finished score, but so much for that Southern powerful football program. Big C, your thoughts?
Zach Taylor is one of the better quarterbacks in the country, but I think BYU went down south a few weeks ago and ran into Coastal Carolina and walked out of town butthurt.
It was a slow dance. They were saying they were holding them so much. They didn't know they were going to a slow dance, Coach. We could have done that in Utah. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, Appalachian State, 56-28, and they had a big game over UNT. But I want to say there was a running back that played for Appalachian State, and that good old boy, I think he rushed for over 300 yards, and he did that in one game, and he didn't even know, but the team told him when he was at 200 yards, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, you're going to have some performances in the postseason. I mean, every year there's always a team and a player that just rises to the top that no one expects. Yeah,
the cream does rise to the top, and I look forward to seeing a lot of these good old boys playing football. We talk about the Power 5 conferences all the time, and if there's any type of alignment coming, I would just see, because thinking about the bowls, there was a time that the Pac-12 was talking about adding Oklahoma and Texas, along with Colorado and Utah that did join, so that would go to 14 teams. And the SEC has 14 teams. The Big 12, I think they have like 900 teams up in the Big 10, Big C, and the Big 12 have their slew of teams. Would you be at all in favor of balancing out these teams and saying we're going to give every conference 10 teams, or do you see ultimately coming in the next few years where we have a super PAC of football teams on the East and West Coast? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, the alignment that these teams have put forth is about economics.
Yeah.
And you're not going to put teams in your conference that can't economically benefit you. I mean, when you talk about bringing conferences in where you have teams with stadiums that seat 40 to 50,000, fans, and then you also have teams in that conference already that seat 100,000 fans.
Yeah.
There's no economic advantage of bringing those teams in that have less than 50,000 fans that attend, so you're not going to see that.
Yeah, it's all fair and love and war. I know everybody's trying to figure out a way to have what's called equity in the bowl system, and it's going to happen with more conversations are happening around college football. It's all fair and love and war. Last story, Big C News. We talked about it earlier, but POTUS, he gave 20 pardons to his friends for the Christmas holiday, and think about it. 2 of them included 2 GOP congressmen who lied in the Russia probe, in the Mueller report, and he still refuses to condemn the Russian cyber attack, which is an abuse of pardoning power. But isn't that something? They put up such a stink about nobody doing anything wrong, and now they're saying before he gives up power on January 20th, he's going to pardon not only himself, but his whole family. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, he will pardon all the way up to his final day in office. Undistinguished, but full of criminals.
Yeah, full of criminals. It's like there's a movie that I've heard about many years ago. It was called Goodfellas, and the one was called Godfather. It's all fair and love of war. Everybody be safe for the holidays. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we got a wealth of college bowl games that are being played. We got a wealth of college bowl games that are being canceled. Hopefully all these young players stay healthy and we have no injuries that will hurt their futures going forward.
Yep.
Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. Stay strong, stay safe. Take care of America.
Take care of America. You can take care of America every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.